Thank you for clicking on my channel again. This is Lulu. And this is my third day sober. It's great. It's great. I still can't sleep. I fell asleep after 10 last night. Anyway, so today I wanted to talk about my mother. My mom, she is 60 years old, and she was born September the 18th. What year? I don't know, but if you can do the math, you're smart. I want to say it's 61. September 18, 1961. So she's yeah, like 60. Anyway, she's a Sagittarius. Okay, so my mom was born with she had 13 brothers and sisters, and she was one of the top 3 oldest. And my mom still doesn't understand why she had to go to work at such a young age. She says she loved school. She wanted to finish school. She wanted to be a nurse. And my grandma basically forced her to stop going to school so she can go to work and take care of her brothers and sisters. So she did, and she got a job taking care of like older people, like a older woman actually. And she worked there for a long time, but for every paycheck, my grandma would come and pick it up. So my mom was left with like always no money. And she says that she got to a point where she would tell her boss, which was the daughter of the old lady that she was taking care of in Mexico. This is in Mexico, by the way, because you know America would not let you take your kid out to start working. Well, who knows? Maybe back then they did, you know. But anyway, so she got to the point where she told, you know, her boss and said, you know, could you at least, you know, put aside $5 for me so I could have for the week. And the lady knew how my grandma was, so she was like, yeah, okay, sure. And that's how she was able to save some money. Not a lot, but, you know, enough to buy her some makeup, you know, or, you know, just little stuff, I guess. And that's how she lived most of her life. My mom was so desperate to leave the house, she married a really good friend of hers who was secretly gay, but she didn't know yet, at least. He was also hiding it from his mom, who basically also, which was the reason why, you know, he got married, because he was hiding his gayness. My mom didn't know. And the man worked, so when he would leave for work, he would come home late. My mom didn't think anything of it. And, you know, they were living together at his parents' house. So nobody suspected anything. And my mom, you know, because this is her husband, so she would, you know, look out her window to see when he would come home or when he was coming home. So one night she saw him like under a light, like a post light. I don't know. I don't know what those are called. Maybe I do, but I don't know. But he was making out with another man, and she realized, you know, this man is gay. So she didn't know what to do, but she did not want to go back to my grandma. My grandma was very abusive, by the way, and she basically only targeted like 3 of her kids, and the other ones were perfect kids except for those 3. And my mom was one of them. And she didn't want to go back to that life because she knew she was going to come back as a widow, as a divorcee. She was not going to be accepted in the house, nor around the area, you know. You know, back then separating was a big no-no. And so she toughed it out. And great. What did I do with my... Okay. So anyway, see, she toughed it out and stayed with him for, I think, 2 years. Or maybe 3. But I think he found out that she found out that he's gay. And basically one day he just ran away and like never came back. So she waited for him for like 3 months. And my mom knew that he ran away with his lover, his lover. So she was like, oh, you know, I just don't want to go back. And she was just having hopes that, you know, he would come back so she doesn't have to go back to that life with her mother. And so, oh, here it is. I found it. So, you know, that was that. But after the 3 months, the mom started treating her bad, like kind of blaming her for her son being gay, I suppose. And my mom didn't want to go through that. So she left and went back home, and sure enough, grandma was terrible. And my grandpa loved her so much. Man, he was such a kind man, and he would yell at my grandma and say, this is your children, and, you know, this is your child. You know, why would you leave him out in the cold? And she's like, well, if she wants to stay here, she's got to get a job and blah, blah, blah. And my mom's like, well, I'm not going to have a job, you know? So she went back to work with another lady, doing the same thing, caretaking. And well, oh no, I'm sorry. She wasn't doing the caretaking, but she found a job in Mexico. They have like pools and stuff like that where people can come and take showers, right? Like the football players or whatever, or soccer players, you know, Mexico. And there's soccer players, my daddy, for one. But anyways, so while she was over there, she would, you know, clean the restrooms, the showers, fold the towels, and, you know, work. And then on one of those days, she met my dad. And my dad, he was really nice to her and flirted with her, and he kept coming back and trying to hit on her or whatever. But because she was still married, she didn't want to talk to anybody, you know, because talking to somebody or finding out that you're married is obviously a big no-no, especially if they left and never came back. And you know how it was back in the day if you look up into it. So She said it took her about a couple of weeks for her to finally be like, all right, you know, I'll let you take me out on a date. And she said that he was really nice and so sweet, and she was in love with my dad. Months later, he's like, I'm going to the north, the United States. He says, I'm going over there to work, and I want you to come with me. And my mom's like, I can't. I have to take care of. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. But she's like, I can't. You know, I don't want to leave my dad. And if you want me to go, you have to talk to my dad and let him know that you want me to go with you, and maybe he'll let me go. And so she says she did want to go because she wanted to escape grandma, as she always did. And sure enough, my dad comes and talks to him. Grandpa, with a broken heart, tears in his eye, he says, all right, you can take my daughter. And they left. She found out she was pregnant with my big brother on her way crossing over here because she was an illegal immigrant in the United States. So she was 3 months pregnant when she crossed to the United States, and by coyote, okay. And she lived here with dad, and she said that almost immediately that he was basically an alcoholic, my dad, and he was very abusive. But she thought, whatever, right? How we always think, maybe he'll change after the baby. He didn't. He almost had like a resentment towards my mom and my brother because he was actually in love with somebody else. And he got with my mom because it was kind of like a last resort, because apparently he was that much of an alcoholic that lady didn't want him and said, as soon as you change, stop drinking, we'll get married. I guess dad didn't want to stop drinking. So he met mom, who, by the way, looked kind of similar to the lady. And now as she's older, and it's weird. But anyway, so my mom had to live her whole life listening to my dad say how much he hated her, how much he resented her. Maybe he didn't use those words, the resentment part, but he would say he hated her because of her. He's not happy, and he can't be happy because now they're together and now they have a kid, and this is all while he was drunk in front of his brothers and to my mom. So I'm like, I know. I'm like, why would you take it? Okay, women are weak as it is already, for men. And back then, she was already married. This is her second man with a baby with a baby with this guy, my dad. And to go back home, she said, it's not going to be great. One of her sisters ended up getting pregnant, but she was kind of a whore. That's what my mom says. Sorry, Thea. But she ended up getting married. Dude, I'm freaking boiling in here. So anyways, she said, I'm just going to tough it out, for my kid. so I won't have to go back. Whatever. Maybe one day he'll love me, is what she thought. So then, there was one occasion with my big brother when we lived in California, because I was born in California, and so was my big brother. But my little brother was born in Texas. And so anyways, sorry, it's just a little awkward that people are staring. And okay, so because they worked in the grape fields, or the grapevines, I think that's what you call them. And my dad had a job there. And my mom would help, obviously, and when my brother was like 4 years old, she would bring him even before he was 4, because the owner of the grapevines loved my mom and loved my big brother. And so they were working in the vines, and the man had planted his own little garden, his own little grape garden for my brother. And he had some little grapevines growing, and my brother was bending over to pick it up. But kids, he was 4 years old, they're like not really good at balancing, and he fell over and squished one of the vines. Why does my dad get so angry? He kicks him, and apparently allegedly kicks him so hard he kind of threw him. You know what I mean? Like when you get kicked so hard, you get thrown, I suppose. And he ended up falling so hard that when my mom, she saw that, she was really upset and started talking mess to Dad and was like, "What's wrong with you? This is your son. He's only 4 years old, blah, blah, blah." And she goes and picks him up, and she says that it still makes her cry. And I heard it in her voice that she tried to pick him up and that he couldn't stand up anymore. So she's like, "Come on, try to stand up," and that he was so little, and that he was like, he would try to stand up, but his legs would wobble back and drop, and he would laugh, but like a laugh that was like a painful, like a little kid. I could just imagine those little kids, but he would laugh like a little painful laugh, where it's like he didn't want to laugh, but I guess he was just a happy baby, And my mom was so sad, and she went up to him and said, "If anything's wrong with my son, you'll never see him again. We're gonna leave," and blah, blah, blah. Well, she went and massaged his little feet, and he got better. So after that, you would think that Dad would change, but that wasn't the case. He just stopped hitting my brother, but never stopped hitting my mom. And we end up moving. I was born, but the reason why I was born was because my dad said, "I want a girl. I want it to be a girl, and if you're a boy, or if it's a boy, I don't want it, and you and your kids can leave." My mom's like, "What makes you think that I can have a girl? This isn't my choice," and blah, blah, blah. Again, my mom, so naive. Anyway, he's like, "Well, I don't know what you're going to do, but that's what I want, and that's what you're going to give me." She said that she prayed that she had a girl. And, sorry, I think I have some hairs right here. So she prayed for a little girl, and she come to find out I was a girl. So she was so relieved, and and then I was born, and Dad was just so drunk when I was born. He was watching a football game, and he'd rather watch the football game than to make it on time for my birth. And when he got there, he was wasted. But anyway, so I was born, and I was like the light of his life, because I'm basically what he wanted, what he asked for, you know. Because not saying that my big brother was an accident, you know, but it was basically like, oh shiz, you're pregnant, I guess we gotta get married now. But he wanted a girl, so he asked for a girl, and that was me. And my mom said that from the get-go, Dad was super nicer to me than my brother. And again, everyone loved us, like his family. They used to call us the little chollios. I don't know why, but we moved out from California and moved to Texas, and I think like a year later my little brother was born. So when my little brother was born, we lived in some apartments, and again, I was too little, right? But we lived in some apartments, and it was a black woman who came in and broke into the house because my mom had just basically given birth like a week ago, kind of thing, and she broke into the house. So she was resting, and the baby was sleeping in his crib. I was in my room sleeping, and my big brother was at school. And then she said that she just had like a gut feeling to go check on the kids. And I was there sleeping on my stomach, she said. And she checked on the crib, and my little brother was gone. So she freaked out and immediately runs outside because he's a baby. What is he going to do, right? She runs to the door that was still open and like runs as fast as she can to, I don't know, straight, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's like, you know how apartments are. I guess it's a certain way to go. And so she went and met up with her on the side of the street. And she had the baby in her arms, carrying it like a bag, you know, like just like not even like a baby. But she was carrying him, and my mom saw it, and she's like, I don't even know how I managed to run. I couldn't even walk because she had a C-section. And she's like, I don't even know how I managed to run, but I did. And I caught up to the lady, or she caught up to the lady and snatched my brother back. And whenever she did that, the lady just took off. She ran. And my mom ran back home because I was left alone sleeping. And she was so upset, and she was like an immigrant, so she couldn't call the police, you know, because as we all know how the police are. I'm sure they would have said something, done something to make her look bad and whatnot, right? So she couldn't even call the police. And then plus she was scared that she was going to get deported. So she just held my brother. And ever since then, my mom like basically never let us go. Not that she would let us wander in the streets, right? But And she was really overprotective after that. Can't blame her, right? Come on. So whenever my dad comes home that night, she tells him what happened, and within a couple of days they move to the house that we're at right now, actually. And we bought the house, and that's where we've been our whole life. So as I'm getting older, I'm clueless about dad and his situation and mom's whatever. And I do remember noticing that, you know, dad was mean to mom. And one time he was basically, this was the last time he drank, because I think I have several little stories about, dude, I'm cooking in here. I just remember several little stories of dad basically hitting my mom, or not hitting my mom, but just like evidence that he would hit her, you know. And I was just so young, I didn't know. So one day, because I was always a daddy's girl, when he would get drunk, they would give me the keys, and dad would never argue with me. And if I didn't want to give him the keys, he was like, all right, fine, you know. But if my brother had the keys, he would like bully him until he gave him the keys, and dad would leave. And we didn't want that because he was drunk, you know. And of course I loved my daddy, you know, come on. Yeah, I was clueless, but I still love him. And so anyways, on this certain day, I heard like commotion outside the house. Well, outside the trailer, when we lived in a trailer, because dad built a house and that's where we live in now. But when we lived in the trailer, you know, trailers are so paper thin. So I heard commotion going on, and I was like, I told my big brother, I was like, I think mommy and daddy are arguing. And he's like, what? Or whatever he said. But we snuck out of the house and went to go see where they were arguing, and I can hear dad just like yelling. So my brother gets scared because he was a mama's boy, and he gets scared and he starts like walking ahead of me, running basically. And because he did, I did too, right? And then we see my dad on top of my mom with a beer bottle, a broken beer bottle, just like ready to like stab her. And mom was like pinned to the floor. And we're like, well, my brother, because I was in shock, I was like, you know, but my brother's like, what are you doing? Leave my mom alone. He pins him from like from the back. So he's holding him by his shoulders like this, you know. And he's like, I don't know what he told him. Me and my mom and my brother, well, my little brother was so naive, poor baby. He might have been there, but anyway, so whatever he told my dad, when he pulled him to the side, you know, like freaking cop style, my dad, he left the house. And when he came back the next day sober, he stayed sober. To this day, he's still sober. And we don't even know what my brother said. And I haven't asked him. You know, it's a sensitive subject. So I never really got to ask him, even though me and my brother were so close. And, you know, that's the life my mom lived with a man she loved. So my big brother, he grows up, 18 years old. He joins the army leaves immediately. And he's like back and forth in the military. So he ends up meeting this girl online or whatever, and he's like head over heels over this girl, and she's gorgeous. She's gorgeous, and still gorgeous, by the way. But they get married. They ended up getting married, and everything was fine. Everything was fine. But they had a baby, and I haven't seen my brother in over 3-4 years. And he just never came back, and my mom blames herself. She says, I'm just too ghetto. I'm ugly, because my mom's handicapped. She's blind, and people are really judgy, you know, and I can see the judgmentalness in people. But I love my mom, and I care for anyone who's in that position. So my mom's blind, but she tried to get her eye fixed one day, or 1 year, and she got like laser eye surgery. And this is when it first like came out, you know, and they're like, oh, we have a new thing and blah blah blah, this will help your vision and this and this and that. And so my mom's like, yeah, I want to see again. They did the eye surgery, and her eye like just deteriorated. It looks like a fish, like a dead fish, like the frozen fish. You know how it's completely white and like almost sunk in, but the eye's still there. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it. Maybe I'll find a picture. But so, you know, people stare. And my mom, she knows they stare, because I think when she lost her eye, she could still see a little bit on the other eye, and she could see that her eye was really scary, you know, and that's all she remembers. And then one day she just wakes up in dialysis, which, by the way, she's also on. She wakes up on dialysis, and she wakes up to darkness. And she said that she was so scared because she fell asleep seeing, and then she wakes up and everything's completely black. So she freaks out, and she starts screaming to the nurses, I can't see, I can't see. They took her to the hospital, and she's blind. And so anyways, back to what I was saying. And she thinks that maybe he's just embarrassed of her, that she's blind and she looks like that. And then now without her legs, she feels like, oh, he's never gonna love me. I'm sorry. Just say, I hate my brother. So now it's just me, my baby brother, and mom. Dad's still living there. He's on his second wife, because he ends up marrying the love of his life, the one he would beat the crap out of my mom because it was her fault that he couldn't be with her. He ends up marrying her, and things don't turn out. He's not really much of a, you know, like what every woman wants. Someone to love you and take care of you and treat you like a princess. I mean, I was always treated like a princess, you know, but What of them? And oh my gosh, it's almost time for me to go. And it's been 35 minutes. God dang. Alright. So he ends up marrying that woman, and they end up getting a divorce. No, they're still married, as a matter of fact. And because he's not going to divorce her because she wants all his money. And she would get mad because my dad would still come and make sure that mom was okay. He would come and make sure that I didn't eat anything, that my brother didn't eat anything. And she hated that. She hated that with a passion. So she left. And now he's with some other girl that he met online. And he's like building a whole house in Mexico. The new girlfriend's daughter gave him her son because her husband doesn't want it. It's not his, so why should he take care of it? So she's like, here mom, have my son, and blah blah blah. Yeah, okay. And so that's where he's at right now, and that's why my mom is so sad. And that's why my mom lived a horrible life. Okay, that's the story. I gotta go. I gotta go to work. I have so much to say. Too much to say. I can't even say it in 35 minutes, and I can't even 36. And I can't even break it down.